Well, my friends, today I got a special video for you. Remember a couple weeks ago I told you I was going to discuss another pack, and this is another Duluth pack. I have no idea how old it is. Now, if you happen to know how old this thing is based off of the looks and stuff, maybe you're a collector and you're more versed in Duluth equipment than I am, then please feel free to leave me a message below. And if you wouldn't mind, give me a source material, because it's a historic channel and we love having primary sources. So if you can help me out with that, I'd really appreciate it. But one thing I can tell you about this pack is it is just as high quality as my last one. And because this pack was designed for more of a robust use, if you will, there's even some precautions put in place so that this really doesn't tear out or fail you when you're out in the field. Now, if you didn't catch my video from a couple weeks ago, then after this one, you got to go back and check that one out. But the Duluth pack that I discussed before and this one is specifically designed for canoe camping. So if you don't do any canoeing, then you might never come across this. But it's not necessarily just for canoeists. If you go camping with someone else and you're thinking about splitting the gear, instead of having everybody carry a hatchet and a shovel and pots and pans and things like that, having a group set of equipment is really nice. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to show you specifically how I pack this with all historical gear. And I've got a lovely surprise as we dive into this, and I'm very thankful for one of my viewers who you've probably heard me mention before. But this pack weighs, almost 40 pounds. It's probably like hitting right around 35-ish pounds right now. And it looks like a block, doesn't it? There we go. I mean, it's a square type block. I love how the original owner of this said food. Dwayne's. So this is named. This is pretty cool. I think that's pretty neat. So this came with my other pack, and it's also named for Dwayne. I think it's just awesome that obviously he cared enough that he wanted to make sure that he had his food and he had his pack. Now, I think in part this goes back to transportation. Now, of course, if you're camping with a large group of people, then you definitely want to make sure your stuff is marked, right? But how this applies to early 20th century is back in the day, you usually went on like long excursions if you had the money, right? And you would travel by train. You would have everything loaded up on a train. You'd go out west or wherever, or in this case, maybe out in Minnesota, the Boundary Waters, somewhere, right? You're going to travel by train, and this would be part of your luggage. You want to make sure that your name's on it, that you're going to get it back, and it's easy to identify. Just like if we were going somewhere with a plane. We got those luggage tags, right? So anyhow, back to the pack itself. Let's turn it around. And you can see the durable leather straps, just like the other pack, right? And it even has the same features about making sure that it's not going to tear out. We got the strip of leather right there. We got the angles, and this is laid out. I think it's because it's not so wide. It's a little less comfortable for me. Remember in my last video I said how it sat on my hips. It was actually really comfortable. 6'1", 221 pounds. Last time I went to the doctor anyways. So where this sits, it's a little tight on my love handles, if you know what I mean. I'm going to put this on and show you how it looks with a 6-foot frame on it. Take it off, and then we'll dive in. But first, I want to say thank you to my patrons on Patreon, because without them and their support, this channel wouldn't exist. And I also want to let you know that I'm starting a monthly newsletter. So if you're interested in historical camping and you want some tips and tricks and things like that, you want some in-depth pictures of my collection and other historical artifacts, then in the description below, you'll see a link. It's a Google form. Just give me your email address, and once a month, I'll send you a newsletter to keep up to date. And since I started the podcast, you also get to know ahead of time who's going to be on the guest list coming up. Now, don't laugh at me. Don't make fun of me. Ugh. All right. There we go. Now, there's a reason why I'm specifically talking about these packs and talking about two people. When you're going camping in a wilderness setting, especially a more high-risk wilderness setting, you really need to camp with someone else. That's the Boy Scout way, right? Like, have a buddy system. But honestly, it's not just kids and Boy Scouts. This was something that was advised a long time ago in the late 1800s and early 1900s. To them, I think it was just common sense. But it was in, journals and books and things like that. And plus, camping was just a communal type event. Now, I understand if you want to do some solo camping. If you do some solo camping, do it close to civilization. Find some property you're allowed to go out on. But in general, if you're doing wilderness, deep canoe, or deep hiking, deep camping and stuff, you should have a buddy. All right? So there it is. That's how it looks. It's not terribly uncomfortable here on my love handles. It's really pulling down on my shoulders, which is to be expected because of the weight. And because if you're talking about physics, I'm a teacher, so we're going to talk about some science and stuff, even though I'm a social studies teacher. When you're talking about physics, the farther your load is away from your back, then that's going to teeter you, right? It's going to put more strain on you. This is not a backpacking pack. This is not something you want to hike really long distances with. And for canoeing, they had what's called portages, which really wasn't that long in general anyways. So, for something like that, this makes sense. Your canoe is going to be your vehicle, kind of like a car or truck or something. All right, let's put it down. And one of y'all in my last Duluth video even said another good reason to have someone with you is to help you put on and put off your pack and make sure everything's weighted correctly and just help you out, right, in general. All right, let's undo this and I'll show you all the goodies I have inside. And in fact, I'm going to move the camera so you can see inside how I have this laid out. And as I unpack it, you'll be able to kind of see where everything fits. Now, as we do that, some things are going to be kind of substitutes, if you will, because I'm using the things that I have with me and double duty, if you will. And that's not a bad thing. Even today, we want to try to double duty the things that we have. When I grew up, Appalachia, Ohio, our Tupperware was Cool Whip bowls or butter bowls, things like that. That was our high-end fancy Tupperware. All right, move the camera, show you how this looks. Now, if you've liked this video so far, please do me a favor and click like. That way other people find it. You'll be helping them out. We really appreciate it. Okay, as we untie this will look very familiar to you, like the old Boy Scout yucca packs. They weren't the only ones who did it, but if you're familiar with old Boy Scout packs, then this will take you back. Look at the reinforced straps right there, just like the other Duluth pack. That's a sign of quality. Whenever you're trying to figure out what kind of pack you want, these are some of the details you want to think about. And since we're going canoeing, and even in the summer, it's just nice to have some type of nightcap. Either it be really thin. This is my general purpose all around. Take this winter, summer, etc. And it keeps my head warm. And if you're camping around the boundary waters, it gets rather cool. You'll see that I have my rubber blanket here. Now inside my rubber blanket, I also have my regular wool blanket. Then just like my other pack, you want to have dry bags for your personal gear. My other pack was set aside for one person. And just like that one, since this is a second person's bag, they would want to keep their personal gear as well, and with the food. If you don't have the space for the personal gear all in one bag, then you want to split it. So I have my personal gear, and then I have my kit, just like my other pack. I'm using old haversacks for that purpose. So now you can kind of get a glimpse inside here, how it's all laid out. And I've got the weight specifically towards the bottom because, you know, generally I can pull out these bags rather quickly, right? Boom, I can get right to the food. That's what's nice about having everything organized and subcategorized, right? If you'll also see over here, this is my personal Scout first aid kit. And this is historic gear, so that's why I'm using my 1920s Scout first aid kit. It's there to the top. The other bag, watch the video, it has a much larger one because we're going out into the wilderness. And down here we have food. Over here we have our big mess set. This, now granted, this is my Theros kit and it is a mess kit in itself. What I'm using this for is a placeholder, if you will, for a food item. So something that you would want to keep in something like this, a tin solid surface, would be something that you don't want crushed and that you want preserved specifically, especially meat. You want to take either salted beef, salted pork, or something like that. You want some type of meat that you can get to. And you can get several pounds in something this size. So we pull that out, and then we have sweetened condensed milk. This is one of my most popular Civil War videos, oddly enough. But sweetened condensed milk is really nice because it's packed full of sugar, packed full of nutrients. If we take a look at this, it has 130 calories per serving, and this has 10 servings. I mean, that's just jam-packed. But when you're going a long way, there's a lot of things you can do with this. You can put in your coffee, you can make puddings out of it, you can bake goods out of it, you can just eat it straight up out of the way, to give you that extra energy, things like that. So having sweetened condensed milk and evaporated milk is really useful when you go on some excursions. But the problem with taking, whether it be canned vegetables or something like this, liquid weighs a lot. So you want to make sure, how important is it to you that you have something that already has liquid in it. That way you can get your energy. And then you have a couple bags. So I have a bag full of rice and a bag full of flour. Now, if you notice, my bag full of rice isn't just this plain muslin bag. This is a poke sack, right? Did a video on that as well. And my bag of flour is in this one. My bag of flour is covered up with something that's a little bit more moisture resistant. So if you don't have a tin that you can put your flour in, then having something like this that is going to be fairly waterproof is going to be good for something like your flour. And you can turn flour into bannocks and other type of field bread. Also, each person should have on them rope. This is my Scout rope. And you want to be able to get to it rather quickly. And the nice thing about where you lay things out, especially if it's dark, you want to be able to feel for it, if you will. Know exactly what you're grabbing for just by touch. And every time you pack it, you want to pack it exactly the same way. So you know exactly where it is. Because when you're panicking, if you're in an emergency or something like that, you won't have time to necessarily fumble around. All right, so as we get down in it, let's see, I'll show you a little bit more. You can see my canned goods towards the bottom, right there. Now, this really does have some weight to it. And most of this stuff, in fact, actually all of this stuff, is dried goods, not liquids. And as you pack, you want to make sure that you're distributing the weight evenly. You don't want one side to be super heavy and the other one to be light. That's why this is really soft, is towards my back. So when I put this on, I'm not going to feel the rigid metal and the cans poking in my back. I've got this to be my soft comforter. And if you've watched Sarge Vining's video, you've seen his discussion about dried cans. And I got some examples of those right here. So this was given to me by Mr. Denny, one of my viewers and one of my patrons as well on Patreon. When I got my 2,000 subscribers, he sent me a care package from Sarge with these awesome reproductions. And I got one of them because I haven't got the other one made. But then, and also, look at that. You get it. Abercrombie and fish. Pea soup container right there. All made up, ready to use. So this is cool. And I'll show you. This will be like a little plug for Sarge as well. If you're looking for reproduction cans, this is kind of neat because this is plastic. You can open it up and you can put dry goods in there. So a little bit of a Hollywood magic right there. So when you're setting it up, you can reuse this because you can't find straight wall cans anymore. And you know, for reenactment, living history, and you can actually use this. I can load this up with dry goods and be perfectly fine and reuse it. So just, it's awesome, right? So thank you, Mr. Denny. I appreciate you, and Sarge, I appreciate your work in doing this for the living history community. It's kind of cool how things happen when they do, just in time, because I had this this video planned for a while. Now, down here I have my original spice containers. Now, what's really cool, I found these at an antique store, and I did a video on my antique trip when I got these. And it worked out because these spices, these four, now they hold a lot, right? But you can do so much with them in the field. So here we have baking powder right there. So baking powder, you can make leavened bread. I think that's pretty sweet. And you have ginger. Now, you may not use ginger, but ginger in baked goods and just as flavoring in general can go a long way of making something taste pretty savory. And here we have, let's see, I can't remember. Oh, this is cinnamon. Now, I eat cinnamon on spiced apples. I eat them in on bread and toast. I, of course, eat them with my my oatmeal. You know, just lots and lots of stuff. And then we have cream of tartar. Now, cream of tartar is something that you can actually use to thicken up some stuff too. So that's kind of nice about cream of tartar. And down here, this is my Upton mess kit. Now, again, I'm using this as a placeholder, as a tin container for something that you don't want crushed. So maybe it could be a different meat ration. Maybe it's flour or another dry good that you want to make sure doesn't get wet. So this is a placeholder, and you know, if you got this, you could use this on one of these trips because you already have it, right? And again, it can do double duty. So you got your little pot or cup or something like that. So there's that. Then we have in here, this is a group mess kit. Now, you really, for two people, you don't need this whole thing. But there's a lot of benefits to having something this size with all the different pieces. Because you have 4 plates, you have your skillet, you have 2 different skillets, you have your big pot, you have a medium-sized pot, you got your coffee pot. Now, of course, you can cook coffee on your cup, you can cook coffee in the medium-sized pot or something like that. But when you go camping and you have the ability to lay things out, and you can use the large pot or the 2 large pots to clean your dishes, because I always use the 3-pot cleaning system. This one would have your hot water that you go grab from the water and you heat up, and then you can cook your dishes in it. So that's what's really nice about a kit that size. It's not necessary, but it makes your life easy. And then, of course, we got our silverware down there for my own personal kit. And then we have in here my rubber blanket and my regular blanket. Now, the other person has the tent, and they also have 2 rubber blankets. So this is 1 rubber blanket, and I kind of did this sandwich bag style, if you notice. So I rolled it up, and then I took the end and kind of gulped it to help keep it waterproof. But when you open it up, you got your blanket all set up, ready to go. All right, let's take a look at the bag itself. Bag itself, as you can see, if you take my silverware out of there, is it's square in nature, and it's got these fantastic leather supports right there. Makes it really nice, and it's doubled up on the bottom, and it's reinforced all along the edges here. It's not just some flap. This is actually sewn together pretty well. And yeah, it's you can see where the other layer of fabric, because this is going to sit on the ground a lot, right? And here's another tear. And again, I want to try to get Duluth to respond to my phone calls and my emails and stuff, and see if this is something that they can repair, because I do have a lifetime warranty. I have not been able to hear back from them. So Duluth, if you're watching this, please help a brother out. Let me know. Okay, so you can see the original color in there, right? In comparison to the faded green, to the slightly darker green, and then you got the super dark panels there. There's no pocket in this like the other one, which I wouldn't expect it to be, because this is more just utilitarian. But you can see even the smaller straps have this really thick, heavy duty supports. Thank you so much for watching this video. Some things coming up. I'm going to go on a vacation. I am going to go out west with my family. It's something that we've been planning on and saving up for since COVID hit in 2020. I promised my wife that she was going to go see the sequoias when she graduated with her second bachelor degree. She did that in 2020, and you know, that kind of ruined everything. So we've been saving up ever since, and we're going to head west. So in the month of June, I don't know if my videos are going to be regular. I'm trying to find time to record videos, because I've got a lot of stuff I want to show you guys. But in truth, because of final exams and I'm a teacher and we're wrapping up the year, I don't know if I'm going to have time. So June may be a small hiatus, and I'll hopefully post short videos on the trip. But if you don't hear from me, just know that that's where I'm going. Like, I'm going with my family, and we're going to have some good times. Going to show them nature out there. Never been there myself, so we're really excited. And I hope all of you in the coming month have a wonderful time with your family, or whatever you do. Get outdoors and enjoy the nice weather. I really appreciate all of you who are joining me on this journey, and we've got a lot ahead. We really do. Don't forget to check out the links below, especially sign up for the newsletter, because if nothing else, if I don't get to post a video, I am going to be making the monthly newsletter, and you'll get that, and there'll probably be even some pictures of my trip out there along with it, to try to share it with you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss note to your loved ones. Take care.